Welcome to Love Your Life After Divorce, the podcast where you'll learn everything you need to know to rebuild your life after divorce from the inside out. Let's dive in. Hello, friend. How is everything going with you? Have you been doing anything fun lately? I actually had a really unique experience this past weekend. I went to my hometown for a middle school choir reunion. That's right. Weird, I know, but very cool. It's so interesting because it was so long ago, but when I was in seventh and eighth grade, we had a concert choir, they called it, and it was a very competitive choir. And about a couple of years ago, I guess, our old director got the idea for a reunion. And so it's been in the works for a while, and it finally happened this past weekend. And I spent about 8 hours singing, learning some songs that I had never sang, and then remembering some songs that I sang, 30 years ago? And it was lots of fun. It was even more fun than I thought it would be. It was so nostalgic, first of all, but it also just reminded me how much I enjoy singing, and not just singing in general, but singing with a group, learning music, just making harmony with other people. There's just something really special about that. And I don't know, it just reminded me of how much I enjoy that. And I just wanted to share that with you because there's probably something that you enjoyed doing in your past that maybe you've gotten away from. Maybe you haven't done it in a really long time. And so you've kind of forgotten that that was something you enjoyed. And after divorce, like I've talked about so many times, is just such a good time to reevaluate your life, to figure out what you want to do going forward, what lights you up, what brings you joy, what do you want your life to look like? Even if it's something like singing in a choir when you're nearly 50 years old, it doesn't matter. Like, all that matters is it's enjoyable to you. So I just want to encourage you right now to think about something that maybe even from childhood or young adulthood that you used to enjoy and that you haven't done in a long time. That might be a good way to just get creative and add more joy to your life. So, about 2 weeks ago, I did a podcast episode about stepping into your main character energy, which basically just means realizing that you are really the main character of your own life. When we go through divorce, and a lot of times in our marriages, we really lose ourselves. We tend to put everyone else above ourselves. We put ourselves last. We don't prioritize our own happiness or even our own well being. We just don't take good care of ourselves a lot of times as women. And I really went into that in that episode. So if you haven't listened to it, I recommend you go back and listen to that one, because this one is sort of a follow up from that. Because I started thinking about why women are held back from stepping into that main character energy of really believing that they can have the lives they want. What holds women back from prioritizing their happiness and their well being and their health and just their joy? Like, what keeps women stuck? And so, one of the things I realized this past week is that when we go through a divorce, it often puts most people in a survival mode. And it's really a trauma response because, I think it's few and far between. I think for most people, divorce is traumatic. A lot of people are just blindsided. You have no idea it's coming. One day you're just, you're living your normal life. And then one day, boom, you're hit with some huge bomb that feels like it just explodes your life. And so it makes so much sense that when you go through your divorce, you are in survival mode. You are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I don't know if you've heard of all four of those. I think fight, flight, and freeze are pretty common. And it's basically just how your body responds when you are faced with a really big stressor. And your brain interprets this as danger, literal danger to your well being. And historically, this has kept us alive. Like, it's a really good defense mechanism or a skill that we all have as humans. When we sense danger, then a certain part of our brain, the amygdala, is triggered, and we really go into this, survival or trauma response. And so I was just thinking about this, how this relates to divorce. And like I said, you may have been totally blindsided. You may have just found out in an instant that your ex was cheating, or your ex just told you, I want a divorce, or your ex just moved out. And you just felt like the rug was just pulled out from underneath you. Your world just came crashing down. And that is quite traumatic. It really is. And even if you're the one who technically chose divorce, realizing what you're about to go through and realizing that this feels like your best option and that you just can't continue living this life you've lived for so many years, that is also traumatic. And so, regardless of exactly how your marriage ended, you probably found yourself operating in a trauma response of either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You were just doing what you could to make it through the day. You felt overwhelmed, scared, on edge, in a heightened state of vigilance, looking around for what might go wrong. Or maybe you actually felt really stuck and depressed with no motivation and no hope for the future. And so, if you felt any of those things as you were going through your divorce, or if you're still feeling them, then you are probably operating in one of those four modes of stress response. And so, let's just break each of those down and talk about how these different states of stress look when you're going through a divorce. And I want to point out that you probably exhibited each of these at different stages of your divorce. And I mean, maybe even day to day, they changed. And so, whether you are well past your divorce or you're just going through it, I want you to just check in with yourself as I describe these different states and see if any of these sound really familiar. So, if you are in fight mode, then you are putting on your armor. You are ready to go into battle. You are fighting your ex tooth and nail for what you feel like is fair. Maybe you chose an attorney that's known for being really hard and a bulldog. Maybe you even used intimidation or threats or strength to get what you wanted or what you thought you deserved. If you're operating in fight, you don't mind taking your ex head on. And you may feel on edge and just like ready to jump up and fight at a moment's notice. It's hard to relax when you're in this, way of operating. It's hard to wind down or to let your guard down. And so you may have trouble sleeping or accessing any emotion besides anger or strength. So if you're operating in the flight response, you may hardly ever cry. And you may feel just this sense of like needing to keep it together at all times. So next is flight. If divorce puts you in flight mode, then you just want to escape. It is so painful, so scary that this is happening, and you just want to avoid it and just get away. You're terrified of what may happen, and so you just numb out with drugs, alcohol, food, binge watching shows, or shopping. You really just do whatever you can to avoid thinking about the divorce and to avoid the emotions that come along with it. You want to just avoid the breakdown of your marriage and pretend it's not happening. So you may either keep yourself super busy with work or friends or your kids, or you may sleep a lot to try to avoid thinking about the divorce. So if you're in flight mode, you really aren't facing your emotions or the situation. Now, if you are operating in freeze mode, then it's basically what you think it is. You just feel frozen and stuck. You either don't know what to do next or you have no desire to take any steps. So you just take no action to move forward with the divorce. You feel almost like you're suspended, like time has stopped and you're just there. You're just existing. You may sleep a lot or lay around a lot. You may have no motivation to do anything. You may drag your feet on taking any action that causes change to happen. And you may just feel this void out in front of you, like you have no idea what's next, and you can't even fathom leaving behind this life that you've known for years. Now, if you're in the fawn response, this is the one that people may be less familiar with, but basically, fawn just means that you jump into people pleasing mode. You're very agreeable in order to avoid any conflict. You just go along with whatever your ex wants, even if it's not really what you want. In order to avoid any hard emotions, you just acquiesce and just try to make everything as smooth as possible. And so, do you recognize yourself in any of these four descriptions? You've probably experienced almost all of them at some point, and it's totally normal. I mean, going through a divorce is such a huge, stressful change. And so being in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn is really a normal part of the process. Now, just because it's normal does not mean that it's fun or enjoyable, but I just want to assure you that it is a normal human response because it's basically what gets you through this stressful time. It's your body's way of trying to protect you, of trying to help you make it through something that's really, really stressful. But the problem is when you stay in one of these states for longer than is necessary. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women who feel stuck after divorce and they just don't know what to do. It's like the divorce is final, things are pretty stable, and they still just feel just not like themselves and like they don't know what to do next. They're not ready to thrive. They're not able to step into that main character energy that we talked about 2 weeks ago. And they don't know how to create a life they really want after divorce. So, does that sound like you? Is that kind of your experience? Your divorce is over, but you still feel on edge, hypervigilant, ready to go to battle? If that's you, then you may still be operating in that flight response. So, is the ink good and dry on your divorce decree, but you're still running away? Are you having a hard time accepting the reality that you are divorced? Have you actually faced your painful emotions? If you haven't, then you're probably still in that flight mode. Or, maybe things have settled down a bit since your divorce was final, but you still feel stuck, frozen, unable to take action or move forward. Maybe you're just going throughout each day, just trying to, just make it through the day. That's your only goal. But you're not really doing anything to change your life, to make it better, to, feel like you're moving forward. And so this indicates that you're still in that freeze response. Or maybe even though your divorce is final, you're still avoiding conflict with anyone, especially your ex or your kids. You're just always agreeable and accommodating. You're trying to please everyone. You don't speak up about your own needs. And if that sounds like you, then maybe you're still in that fawn response. And so, if you're stuck in one of these survival responses, then you're really just not able to move forward in a way that allows you to become the best version of yourself and to live your best life. You're in a rut and a pattern that is not helping you. You've gotten used to operating this way, even though it's no longer necessary. And so, how do you get out of it? Well, I just want to offer you 5 steps to get out of being in one of these stress responses. So, the first step is just to be aware of where you are. And I really hope that what I've shared so far today just sheds some light on that. And that if you recognize that you're operating in one of these trauma responses, then that's a good thing because that is the first step to getting out of it. Because if you don't know where you are and you don't know what the problem is, then it's hard to solve it. You just feel like this is your life, this is what you're doing. And so the second step is just to calm your nervous system down and give your body the message that you are safe. Because remember, when you are operating in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it's because subconsciously you don't feel safe. And so creating a sense of safety is really important. And there are so many ways to do this, but I just want to give you a few brief, easy suggestions. So the first suggestion is to do a breathing exercise. Like there are a million, maybe not a million, because there's only so many ways to breathe, but there are lots of breathing exercises out there that you can just, Google breathing exercises to calm yourself down and you'll find several suggestions. But one of my favorite ones, because it's so simple and so easy to remember, is box breathing or 4x4. So you breathe in slowly for 4 counts, then you hold it at the top without breathing for 4 counts, then you exhale for 4, and then you hold it on the exhale. Like after you've exhaled, you stay there in that space of your breathing or not breathing for 4 seconds. And so then you just repeat that. And that's just an easy one, to do. And honestly, I know breathing exercises sound so basic, like, can it really help? But I promise you, it really does help because think about it. I mean, your body operates on oxygen. I mean, if you don't have oxygen, that affects everything. It affects your brain, it affects your blood flow, it affects your muscles, it affects your stress level. And so, if you've never tried breathing exercises, I want you to try this one. And the good thing about it is it only takes a few breaths to make a difference. My point is that breathing makes a big difference in your body. And so try that out. The second suggestion I have for you is meditation. And again, I know there are so many different types and ways to meditate. There's lots of apps out there that give you guided meditation exercises, but I want to offer again a very simple suggestion for meditation. And that is just to focus on your inhale and your exhale. And while you're inhaling, just say a very short phrase. And on the exhale, say another short phrase. And since the purpose here is to create a sense of safety, I suggest that when you inhale, just say something very basic like, I am safe. And then on the exhale, say, I am in control of myself. Because those two things are true. Unless you really are in an unsafe environment, and then this whole podcast episode is not for you. But just inhale and say a brief phrase or even one word that makes you feel safe and makes you feel peaceful, makes you feel calm. Whatever word or phrase that is for you, just pick it and do it. But for me, when I did this, I was thinking, I am safe. And on the exhale, I am in control of myself. If you do that for literally 2 minutes, you will feel a difference. So, again, if you've never tried that basic form of meditation where you just focus on your inhale and exhale, I really recommend you try it. The third recommendation I have in order to calm your nervous system down and give your body the message that you're safe is to exercise, to move your body. And if you can do it in nature, then that even gives you more benefit. So if you could take a walk close to some trees and some grass, then, or the beach, anywhere that allows you to be in nature, that is scientifically proven to calm your nervous system down, to create just a feeling of peace, of groundedness within you. But if you can't get out in nature, even getting any kind of exercise, moving your body, it connects you to your body. And that gives you a feeling, like I said, of being grounded and safe. And so, suggestion number 4 is just to find anything that makes you feel calm. Anything that makes you feel calm and safe helps you get out of this survival mode that we've been talking about. So, whether that is, having dinner with a good friend that you can just talk to, or journaling, or taking a nap, or taking a bath, anything that just relaxes you, calms you down, and helps you feel safe is what you need to do in the second step in this process. So the third step is to focus on feeling and processing your emotions. As you've probably heard me say, if you've listened to any number of episodes, is that you've got to feel it to heal it. And it just is so true. And maybe you tried so hard to keep it together during your divorce because you felt like you had to in order to survive or in order to protect your kids. But now that the divorce is final, it's really time to face those emotions. And I really lay out a very specific way to do this. Like, how do you go about processing your emotions? Well, I'll lay it out in the very first podcast episode I did. And I just explain how to allow the emotions to be there and to move through your body in a healthy way. And I'm serious when I say this. Learning how to do this one skill of processing an emotion has changed my life. I just feel so much stronger, so much more capable of handling anything that happens in my life. I just say to myself, I know how to handle an emotion because that's what it is. That's what the experience of life is. If you think about going through something hard or difficult or challenging, the reason we find it hard, difficult, or challenging is because of the emotions that we have in the experience. It's those feelings of intense sadness or loss or anger or anxiety. And if you know what to do with those emotions, it is truly like a superpower. Like, it just makes me feel so powerful because I have my own back. I know what to do. I feel confident that I can handle any emotion that comes up for me. And so if you want to have that same type of power and I mean control sounds a little too harsh of a word or maybe out of context here, but just that sense of agency over yourself and the fact that you have self-control, I guess, is just so helpful. So, yeah, that's the third step in this process of getting out of this survival mode is just to process your emotions. And then the fourth step is to start doing one thing you enjoy. Just take one step in the direction of joy. Maybe that looks like taking an art class or a dance class, or joining a bowling league, or playing pickleball, or getting a facial, going out with friends, soaking in the tub. It doesn't have to be huge, but just make an intentional choice to do something that you enjoy. Maybe it's binge watching movies one night by yourself and ordering your favorite pizza, or, going on a walk with a friend once a week. And so, like I said, start small and just take one step, one thing. But if you find something that brings you joy and helps you feel like you're making movement in your life because you want to move to a better spot than you are right now. So whatever helps you do that thing and then keep doing it. So if your divorce is done and you are still feeling really unhappy or unsettled or on edge, or just in self protection mode, then it's just really worth checking in with yourself to see if you are still operating in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And if you are, then just follow the 4 steps I laid out for you. Remember, first, recognize how you're operating. Second, calm your nervous system down and remind yourself you're safe. Third is to feel and process your emotions. The 4th step is just to do one thing you enjoy and then build on that. And so if you want to talk through where you are right now and get some help determining like which one of these stress responses you're operating in, please schedule a free call with me. I really honestly love connecting with you, my podcast listeners, because I just love helping women rebuild their lives, love their lives after divorce. So I'm going to put the link in the description as always, and I just really look forward to talking with you soon. If you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure of how to move forward after your divorce, I've created a free guide just for you. It's called the 5 Stages of Divorce Recovery, and it lays out the roadmap to help you heal, rebuild, and love your life after divorce. This guide is packed with insights and actionable steps that will take you from grieving to embracing your future with confidence. Click the link in this podcast description, and the free guide will be delivered straight to your inbox.